Can I have a roll call, please?
Diane Todd.
Here.
Trent Sawyer.
Here.
Russia Bumpus, absent. Joni Jones, here. Justin May.
Here.
Teresa Keck.
Here.
Lisa Lawless.
Here.
Superintendent Mr. Shattuck.
Here.
Principal Mr. Linebecker.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, I would like to ask for public comment. We do have guidelines on the back of your agenda for public comment, and we will be limited to 3 minutes. We allow everyone enough time to speak. And we do have a timer to help so you can see since the clock is behind you. Okay. So as you come to public speak, please state your name, and if you're willing to give your address, we'll document that as well.
So my name is Donald Lawless Jr. My address has been given to the county clerk's office. I'm running for a school board position this year. So I'd like to talk. I had tried talking to the school board last month on inappropriate text messages from a school employee to a student. I emailed copies of those said text messages to school board member Joni Jones. So the board, I messaged those on the 21st of March. On April 6th, I received a cease and desist letter from the school board employee's attorney stating that I had falsely accused him or whatever. On April 11th, the school released a press release stating that they had not received a formal complaint, and they investigated off my social media posts. None of the text messages were posted to my social media. So that brings me to my next. On February 19th, 2023, at 2:03 a.m., the school employee sends a thumbs up to the student. She responded by, "Shouldn't you be sleeping?" He says, "Who are you? ... LOL. He spells out the R and the U. She sends her name and she said, "You sent me a picture of the jerseys earlier." He sends her name, "Who?" She says, "Who are you?" And he sends an emoji with a blushy face. She says, question mark, question mark. He said, LOL. She said, "The school employee's name, question mark." He said, "It's me, spelt." She said, "You're irritating." Now, you have 7 text messages in total. One of them's from the first girl. I was notified in the beginning of this year by her boyfriend's mother, who said that she had came and spoke to Mr. Shattuck last year. Sent me an email between those guys showing that she had in fact came in and had a meeting with him. She said in her statement to me, which I have on paper, that she came in, her and her boyfriend, her husband, came in, sat down with Mr. Shattuck, told him about the text messages, showed him about the text messages. He said he would take care of it. Well, here we are in 2024, and I don't think it's been taken care of. Now, I've always been, when people say that someone's been investigated, normally they are suspended, and a notice is put out to a school district that a said employee has been suspended. I'm not sure where the school gets off that I've lied or falsified statements. I've not falsified any statements. I didn't make these text messages up. These text messages are clearly from a school employee to a student. Like I said, this one's at 2:03 a.m. There's other ones in that packet that I have given you where the school employee clearly acknowledges that it's him texting the first student. And we're talking like on Saturday at 4:55 p.m. Nothing to do with school. None of this stuff has to do with school. None of this has to do with games. None of this has to do with scheduling conflicts. Nothing to that sort. This is small talk. Our school employees, administration should not be texting students, let alone at 2 a.m. on this matter. You have a policy implemented that obviously, clearly, you are not following it. Because if you were, something would be done by now. So, like I said, I have not lied. I have not falsified statements. I have not, everything I speak is the truth. I mean, it's in front of you. They're in that packet. The school's statement that was written on April 8th and posted on their social media on April 11th, that's in there as well. So if anybody's slandering or libel, I would think it's the statement from the school on 4/8 where.
Thank you. We are beyond time. I appreciate you coming tonight, and I appreciate the information. Mr. Shattuck, will you follow up with these information provided?
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else with us?
Thanks, Lashway. I'll pick up where we left off. You guys have a policy you are not following.
Sorry, what'd you say your name was?
Lance Lashway. You have a policy written down in your rules, all like your guidelines everybody's supposed to follow. There's procedure that should be followed. Obviously, it hasn't been followed by your superintendent. You guys have not followed your policy. Everybody would like to know why you wouldn't be following your policy. And on top of that, why you would be defaming somebody who is trying to help you do your job on your public Facebook page. It's unbelievable. Thank you.
No.
Anyone else would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes from the March 18th, 2024 meeting and approval of the bills from March.
$90,789.76.
I'll make that motion.
Mrs. Peck makes the motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Sawyer seconds. Is there any questions or discussion?
I have a question. There's a bill in regards for Havel, and it's a vast installation for the amount of $3,612. Can you tell me what that was for?
Correct. Havel is, this is one of the last remaining payments from the capital project that we completed when Bruce Caswell was here. So this was the payment to the architect.
Do we have any other questions in regards to the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You guys keeps talking.
Moving on to, we're actually going to skip to new business. Beth Richardson is here for the presentation of the amended budget.
Evening. We've been working quite hard on the budget this year, and I'd like to say that from the budget that you guys decided on back in June, our revenues have increased by $536,701. Part of that has to do with the increase of property values. Some of our taxes went up, but the majority of it, even though we did take a hit on our foundation allowance because the state did not do a blend like we thought they would. They stayed with our actual count this year. But we've gotten quite a few grants that we've been able to throw some of our other expenditures in. And then our expenditures have increased by $333,000, and that's basically because of the grants. With grants, your revenues have to equal your expenditures, and some of them were not necessarily for cost. But we did, I'd like to point out, get a really good transportation grant that is covering a big portion of our lease payment for busing. And that was one that really helped us out with our increase of our excess fund. And we went from an excess fund of a negative $6,814 to a positive $196,797 for the school year, which is an increase of $203,611. Overall, our fund balance, it has a $221,812 increase, which is 4.17% increase over what we originally, had budgeted. So we're looking at ending the year at an income balance of $388,000, which just puts us over the 5% by 2.73. We really, and the state would really like to see us at 10, and we're gonna keep plugging away at this to get some of these costs down. But we did, one of our grants just came through for sure today, we got the money. So, that was really good news on that one. So that's our amended budget. We do need to have a vote on that.
I would like to thank Beth. She did meet with the Personnel and Finance Committee, and we reviewed this prior to this meeting so that we had a good understanding. So I want to thank you for that. Do we have a motion to accept the amended budget as it is presented?
I will make that motion.
Mrs. Jones makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. May seconds. Do we have any questions? Board concerns?
What was the amount of the grant that we got for the transportation?
It's at 95,000,
Thank you.
and we, that is to help offset the cost of current expenditures.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
So seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then I also have the food service budget. I'd like to say the new food service director is doing a really good job with the cost and stuff. Our revenues went up by $6,194. And that was more, part of it had to do with, when we changed bank accounts, we're getting a higher interest rate on food service, so I'm making sure any extra money is kept in that account, so I absolutely need it to cover the expenditures because the interest rate is so much better. The rest of the expenditures are, pretty evened out. We did have one big one, with the state of Michigan at the end of the year, and we don't know this till usually December or January. The food service is only allowed to have 3 months worth of revenue or excess fund kept, and you can't go over that. So they tell you you have to spend money. So in the first, and it can only be spent in the food service department. And we were told that we had to spend about $25,000. So that is why our expenditures are higher. We're still ending very good at the end of the year, but it's looking like we're gonna be able to keep it within the 3 months worth of expenditure excess fund. So instead of ending the year at $90,000, we're ending roughly $87,000. So it's only about a $3,000 difference with the extra revenues we received. And I apologize for not going over this with you last week, which is kind of, we had so much with the other one, I forgot about it.
No worries, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Well, yes, I'm sorry. We need a motion to accept the food services amended budget as it is presented.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. May makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mrs. Wallace? Any questions, concerns? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in. Okay, so that will circle back to old business with the bus leases. Mr. Shattuck?
So last month, I presented a proposal from Midwest. We originally went out for 3 bus quotes, one from Holland, one from Hoekstra, and one from Midwest. While we were going out for 3 bus quotes, we also completed the electric grant, and we were considering what electric would look like for our district. At this point, we waited a few months to see what the electric would give us. Since then, Hoekstra and Holland have backed out because they no longer have buses. So currently where we're sitting is we have Midwest, we have 4 buses that are being held for us. Those are the air brake buses, so this is the 2024 IC gas-powered air brake buses, the 77 passenger buses. They're on their lot, ready to go. Currently, we'd be looking at releasing bus number 7, our hydraulic brake bus. With the shortage of bus drivers, it's good to have a hydraulic brake bus just in case someone doesn't have an air brake endorsement on their license. And then we have to add an extended warranty to that one we're extending here, so bus 7. So we did take a deep dive into electric, over the last month. Mr. Randy Johnson and I, we've contacted consumers. Adam Lopresto from Consumers was gonna come out and give us an idea of if our bus barn could handle, the infrastructure could handle electric. We were also working with Clark Electric, who is willing to come out, and Randy will be able to speak to this a little more in detail. However, it does not look like our bus barn would be able to withstand the amount at this current moment. We do not have a transformer right outside of the bus barn, so we'd have to pull off the pole and the transformer on the main road and put another pole and a transformer. And all the cost from the outside into the building would be at our expense. Everything from the inside of the building with the charging units would be part of the grant. And we have not heard yet about this grant either. So I'm coming to you with, there's 4 different options on the table currently. With Midwest, there's a 1-year, a 2-year, a 3-year, and a 5-year lease option. I'm recommending either the 3-year or the 5-year lease option currently. The 5-year lease option is our best price point. Right now, with the 5-year lease option on the air and the 5-year lease option on the hydraulic, and the hydraulic we would own at the end of that lease, so that would actually be a lease to own. We would be incurring about $22,673 per year for the next 5 years, which, looking at our current fund balance, our fund balance would drop next year to about 7.27%, so we'd see just under a 0.5% drop for the next 5 years if we maintain where we're at. So truly, when we're looking at this budget, for budget purposes, this is probably our best way to go. However, what we need to consider is, if we take just a slight, we can go 1.29% over the next 3 years of our fund balance and only be in this for 3 years. Then this board at that point can choose, do we continue with gas or diesel powered buses? Do we look at electric? Or do we look at outsourcing at this point? So there's many different ways we can go with our busing. I was speaking with Troy Reel, the superintendent of the ISD, prior to this meeting, even about a couple smaller schools in shared busing, what that would look like. So we have some options moving forward, but that's something that we're gonna need to plan for. Plan as a board, plan as an administrative team. And right now, the one fact that we have is that we need to have buses on the ground for the start of the school year. And right now, that's gonna be with the Midwest lease. So truly, it's either, my recommendation's a 3-year or 5-year. 5-year would be the best cost point for us over the next handful of years. But if we wanna look at a slightly shorter lease, I would recommend a 3-year lease. And then that gives us an opportunity to really figure out what we wanna do with the transportation department moving forward. Either way, over half of our students are coming out of district, we have to have buses. So, speaking with Mark is our point person at Midwest. The hold on these buses is only good until tomorrow. There's other schools that want these buses. So I'm asking the board tonight that we need to approve either the 3-year lease or the 5-year lease moving forward. Thank you.
The board, do we have a motion? Based on the numbers, do we wanna consider a 3-year or a 5-year lease?
Is there a buyout option?
That would be considered at a later date. This is basically just saying that we don't have the lease in front of us at the moment. This is saying we want those buses, and then we're gonna take a look at the lease they provide us. We're gonna go over the lease and then sign the lease.
So would these numbers change, is that what you're saying?
No, so the one nice part about this is that I did all of my initial numbers off 9% interest. I spoke with Mark today. The interest rate as of today is 6.75%. So the 6.75% is for the duration of the lease. It won't go up, won't go down. It's gonna be, regardless if we go 3 years, 5 years, it's gonna be a locked-in interest rate.
Well, I'm convinced there's more economical options available to us, given more time to research and plan. I'm inclined to bring a motion to the table to approve 5-year, but I sure would like to know what the terms of the buyout is, to see if that's favorable enough to be able to get out of it before that period, if it made sense to us. But
What is the mileage on these buses for this lease?
0. These are brand new buses.
No, I mean, that's not what I meant, I said it wrong, I guess. Is there an amount
Miles
of
per
lease?
year.
Yes.
20,000 per year.
Did you make that motion?
We've not
Yeah,
had a
but-
motion on the table yet. The engine warranty that's listed here, is that per bus
No.
or that's?
So the 4 brand new buses all have a brand new bus warranty. I can actually pass that down the table. I have that right here.
Is that for bus 7?
Bus 7, we have to go with an extended engine warranty, just because it already has
And
quite
that's
a few.
what's on here, the
Correct.
1422.
So under the hydraulic bus number 7, I'm asking that we also take the 5-year engine warranty to cover us on that basic drivetrain.
I'll make a motion to approve a 5-year lease
I'll
for the
second,
new buses.
I will second that motion.
Mr. Mays made a motion as well as seconds, the motion on the table to amend it.
To accept the bus quote as presented for the 4 IC bus gas-powered air brake stock 77 passenger and extend the warranty on bus 7 for 5 years at the amount of $1,422 per year.
As well as extend the lease on the hydraulic for 5 years as well.
Yep, I did that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, are there any additional questions?
I don't know if this isn't necessarily a question, but I would like to just put this out there and comment. I feel like our hand is a little forced because we don't have, I mean, we can't hold buses and we're not gonna hold them for us. And I would have liked, I'm not saying that I was for electric buses, I'm not saying I was against it. I'm just saying I would have liked to have more information and I would have liked to seen you present it to us. I think you guys had ample time to do that, and now our hand is being forced to do what we have to. And I don't think that's fair to us, I don't think it's fair to the community, but we have to do what we have to do, and we have to make the best decision. I would hope that in the future, you would get back to us in a more timely fashion, that's all I have to say.
Absolutely.
Any other?
I'd like to say that, although I brought the motion to the table because I think it's the best option for our budget at the moment, I really do not want to forget about this transportation budget for the next 5 years until it comes up again. I think it's a conversation that needs to be ongoing from this meeting on, because I think there's other solutions on the table. We can save a lot of money here, or resources.
Any other discussion of the motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Alright, moving back to new business, we have approval of the 2023-2024 school year student handbook.
Correct, so back in the August meeting, we approved the 23-24 student handbook as well as the 23-24 course catalog. Going back and taking a look at board minutes, it was not contained in board minutes. And for pupil accounting, currently with our audit, we need that to reflect in the current board minutes. So I'm asking, everyone has a digital copy of the handbook as well as the printout of our course descriptions. These were the ones that were approved in August. And I'm just asking us that we reapprove both of those this evening. Thank you.
So we have a motion to approve the 23-24 school year student handbook as was presented in August.
I'll make that motion.
Mrs. Peck makes the motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Jones seconds, any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And we'll move directly into approving the 23-24 course catalog. Okay, we have a motion on the or we need a motion to approve the 23-24 course catalog. I'll make that motion. We have a second, Mr. Slade. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And then we have first reading of some NOLA documents.
We do. We have quite a few board documents this evening. I'm going to, one at a time, pass them around the table. These are our Title IX board documents. Our Title IX board documents need to be updated because our old male and female compliance officers were Wes Johnson and Val Trott. They're no longer here. So the only updates to every single one of these Title IX board officers are updated to our two new compliance officers, which are Jamie Leindecker, our K-12 principal, as well as Kayla Shattuck, our high school counselor. So every other piece of these board documents are in order as they have been previously approved. So going through each one of these, it is merely the compliance officers that have been changed in every single one. So, board policy 1422, non-discrimination and equal employment opportunity. On page 2, it updates to our current compliance officers. Passing around 1623 right now. 1623 is our section 504 in ADA, prohibition against disability discrimination in employment. Again, on page 2, the only thing that's been changed to this is Mr. Leindecker and Mrs. Shattuck's name. Moving on to 1622, anti-harassment. Page 4 and 5, it spills from 4 at the bottom of 4 into the top of 5. Again, just changing our compliance officers. Board policy 2260, non-discrimination and access to equal educational opportunity. On the bottom of page 2, it has been placed as Jamie Leindecker and Kayla Shattuck as well. Board policy 2260.01 is the section 504 ADA, prohibition against discrimination based on disability. Again, on page 2 is the compliance officers that have changed. Board policy 2266, non-discrimination on the basis of sex and education programs or activities. This is a rather lengthy board document. The change comes on page 4 at the bottom.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Board document 3122, non-discrimination and equal employment opportunity. Again, the change comes on page 2 at the very top. Policy 3123, this is section 504, the ADA, prohibition against disability discrimination in employment. And the change comes on page 2 at the top. Our next board policy, 3362, is anti-harassment. And that comes on page 4 at the very bottom. Board document 4122, non-discrimination and equal employment opportunity. The change comes at the top of page 2. Board document 4123, section 504, ADA prohibition against disability discrimination in employment. The change comes at the top of page 2. Board policy 4362, anti-harassment. And the change comes at the bottom of page 4. Finally, board policy 5517 is our last anti-harassment Title IX change. And the change comes at the bottom of page 4. The 12 board policies here, there's a possibility that we would need to schedule a special meeting for a second, but at this point, I do not know what the timeline on a potential Title IX investigation looks like. Therefore, right now, I'm gonna scratch off E on the agenda. We're gonna sit in our first reading, so you guys have the ability to read through each one of these, take a look. If my timeline shrinks for any reason, if there's any Title IX investigation, we would have to call for a second special board meeting. Before a Title IX investigation could commence, the board documents have to be updated. So that's why we're pushing through the Title IX documents today, so that you guys have an opportunity through the first reading to take a look at the board policies as they sit. And if we need to move into a second reading, we'll call that special meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we need a motion to update the compliance officers to Jamie Line Director and Kayla Shattuck for policy 1422, 1623, 1662, 2260, 2260.01, 2266, 3122, 3362, 4120.
You missed one.
You missed one, please, Vicki. And then, 3122, 3123, 3362, 4122, 43, apologies, 4123, 4362, 5517. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the first reading of said policies?
To change the compliance officers. I make that motion.
Mrs. Jones makes a motion, do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Mr. Sawyer seconds. Any questions or concerns?
I have a question. Is there any language or verbiage that the state makes requirements for the officers, or is it just directed by the school district?
So the guidelines for what the officers have to do is contained within this policy. Who the district chooses is at the district's discretion.
Okay, so we're not gonna be in a position where they don't have the right credentials, or they don't have something like that?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
And as he stated, there will be a second reading of these before they are effective. administrative reports. We have a report from Ms. Shattuck.
She's in the heart of testing season currently. Our juniors took the SATs last week. We're working currently, finishing all of the testing, state testing. She's doing a great job with that so far, and we're happy with how state testing's going so far.
Very good.
Amen.
Sorry. Okay, maintenance report, Mr. Todd.
I got just a couple of things. The renovation of the concession, the
Great.
concession is complete. We got the 3-bay seat put in, new drain put in, new creek out, so that's all done, updated. I got a boiler inspection coming up on Thursday. I've been working with Howell Mechanical on the boilers, and Jeremy's been in and out for the last 3 weeks, and he's got all his inspection sheets are all updated. Everything's ready to go, so there shouldn't be an issue there when they come to do the inspection on Thursday. We should be all up to date there. And then I've been looking into the flashing light out in front of the school, the caution lights. This one down here just quit working altogether. They both need to be updated and replaced, in my opinion, because they're just wore out. But looking into that, I found out that that's gonna be completely our responsibility. I thought the county should take care of one, the village should take care of the other, but somewhere down the line, the school has ordered those, somewhere back whenever, so it's the school's responsibility to fix them, I guess. So I talked to the guy, the county road commission, he said they would put new ones in for us, but the cost, we'd have to endure the cost inside. So
Do we know what the cost is?
there's too many options.
Okay.
The list is humongous as far as what, depending on how fancy you wanna get, I guess, you know. An average light's gonna be probably $1,500, $2,000, I don't know, somewhere in there. So that's where we're at with those.
Quick question. I can actually probably follow through the information on this, but, what do they do with the other school districts? Does each school provide their own lights?
I asked that same question, and most of them just have a sign, they just have the caution sign, which we have down here in front of Margarita. But apparently, somebody already wanted the flashing signs instead of just this caution sign, so. All the other districts that I'm aware of in Hillsdale County they don't have flashing signs, they just got a sign up there that says school zone or whatever, so. Which is completely legit, you know, if that's all we wanna do is have a sign.
Thank you, Rich.
The concession looks nice.
Pardon?
The concession looks nice.
All right, moving on to transportation, Mr. Jackson.
I'm happy to see you guys approve buses for this year. I did do some checking with Clark Electric, talked to, Adam at, Consumers. He says, they have to pull 440 from transformer on Knowles Road in order to put it in. They will bring it and then bury the cable from the transformer pole next to the building, down and under and into the building. What I got from Clark Electric was the service that we have in there now won't go with that. They recommend a new service. However, they said that we could retain the old service and power the building, and then just put a brand new service in to power up electric buses. And that would take 5 charging stations. We didn't have a cost on the charging stations yet. We haven't gotten a bid on that yet. As far as the service is a 443 phase, or 480, I'm sorry, 483 phase. And they recommend that it get buried around the building and brought into the back side. And that way it would take less cable to run to the power to the buses. Buses that we currently have, they're 5 years old. This is our 5th year for those buses, and they're beat to death. Our roads just trash them out. We'll get through this year, William, which is gonna bring me to my next thing. we had a mechanic at one time, Brandon Keck, was doing our mechanical work. And since he isn't doing our mechanical work, we're paying an ungodly amount of money to have someone else do it. And Mr. Keck would do it for $40 an hour. At least that's what he was doing it. I think that with board approval, we should use him again. And make sure that if it's a contract we need with Mr. Keck to maintain the buses, that as to stuff that is required that cannot be done by anybody other than a certified mechanic, then I think he would be the guy to do that. He did a good job for us, and we did not have any issues as far as parts missing, not working. He was on time, did a very good job for us. I think that with your permission, that I would like to have him come back in. These buses we have now, we still have 6 weeks of school. There are noises coming out of these things. They are beat to death. The bus with the most mileage at this point has 86,000 miles onto it. And that's only because we were shut down for a year with COVID. Anything over that, we'd have been over 100,000 miles on our 5th year in the lease. Normally, Mr. Shattuck says 20,000 miles per bus. We have 2 runs, eat that 20,000 miles with no sweat. We'd be looking at 25,000, 26,000 miles on 2 buses. So, having said that, bus 7 is gonna come into play a lot. We're gonna have to rotate it in, to take the mileage off from the 2 buses that we're gonna be running over. With Midwest will charge us for an overage on the mileage. I don't think that I have anything else as far as bus transportation goes. Oh, one more, except for the kids. Now they're all getting kind of easy, so hopefully we can get this done in a moment.
Mr. Johnson. Athletic report
We do not.
tonight, moving on to food service.
We've been going through some time, we've had some issues lately with lack of subs. I was hoping that we could put something out there to the public more to get the subs, whether it be, social media with Facebook or whatnot, just to try to get the word of mouth out there a little bit. That would be helpful. Our one sub that we do have also works in a tax accounting firm, so this is a bad time of year for us to need a sub. So we need more than just one person to rely on. As Doug has stated, we have the excess funds. We're looking at a couple different, I'm hoping to get some new equipment in, possibly tabletop steamers, some different options, to try to give better food varieties to the kids. And the only other thing that I had was, today we had some students that were fooling around outside during class time around their vehicles. So I don't know if we could just email the teachers to remind them to be mindful of where the students are during class time, that'd be great.
So I don't have a whole lot to go through, when I'm back in a couple of weeks. The biggest thing is just gonna piggyback what Mr. Shattuck said about the testing. Just, as you remember, I brought up last month, this was the first year that the state required that all SAT, PSAT be completely 100% online virtual. We weren't sure how our small building with our internet was gonna handle it, but it handled it amazing. Everything went really, really smoothly. I give almost all the credit, probably all the credit actually, to Mrs. Shattuck. She did a great job of setting up testing areas, making sure the kids were appropriately spaced where they needed to be, making sure that she was able to work with the 2 tests to make sure that kids were testing in a way that wasn't going to overload the system. And then at the same time, the elementary teachers were starting the M-STEP, and they did a really good job of working their schedule around the SAT, PSAT, just again to make sure we didn't overload anything, but everything went up about as smooth as you can expect for the very first time with everything being virtual, and I'm incredibly happy. So, yeah, besides that, that's pretty much where we're at right now, but really good.
Mr. Shattuck.
I just want to give a thank you to Troy Rio for coming to the board workshop today, as well as Jamie. She was here from the HACC, so it was good for her to come and speak with the board. Right now, really want everyone to make sure they remember Kindergarten Roundup. kindergarten roundup is Thursday, April 25th, from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Ensure we bring our birth certificate, proof of residency, and immunization records. We've had subs posted now for a week. We have 2 applications for subs, and I'll be contacting them and getting them on board. Our subs are basically gonna be a sub pool for either our parapros, our kitchen, or bus drivers if they're properly certified, and our custodians. So we wanna make sure that when people have time off, that the spots are adequately filled so nobody feels overwhelmed in their job, and I know that's been an issue. So we've heard it and we're working on it, and we'll get those guys hired this week. So, moving forward, we're into graduation season, which is very exciting. Our seniors' last day is Friday, May 10th. Senior tea is Monday, May 13th at 1 p.m. Senior awards are Wednesday, May 15th at 6:30 p.m. Our baccalaureate is Sunday, May 19th at 2 p.m. And our graduation will be conducted right after at 3 p.m. So we're excited for the graduation seniors. I know the seniors are excited. It's the restless season now after spring break. So, other than that, I think things are going well. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna put in a reminder that the board does hand out diplomas, so please make sure you have the 19th on your calendars. All right, committee reports, building insight.
Yeah, I have a couple things to add. We met with, Mr. Ron Longman and some of the Booster Club, and we are currently talking about redoing the, boys' baseball dugouts and possibly building new storage units for softball and baseball. So that's what's in the works for right now.
Hang on.
We, Trent and myself, we just been met down to the bus barn and was looking at the structure and the things that possibly going on. We took notes about the things that need to be done. We're gonna reach out and get some pricing about some stuff. We talked about a drain for the parking lot. It's a water issue down there. It's always been a water issue. There was talk about, you know, whether it would be beneficial to build a new bus barn, whether it would be beneficial to keep the bus barn. Obviously, we don't have the money for a bus barn now, but we wanna keep ideas open and see what would be best. We talked about where the black wall was, get rid of the roof, keep the black wall, the back wall, put electrical outlets like we had talked. We threw around a lot of ideas. The heating system down in the bus barn desperately, and the electrical desperately need to bring, just to facilitate itself, let alone anything else. It's desperately disrepair, as you guys know. So that's something we're gonna have to look at. But we just kind of threw around some ideas, took some measurements, got some ideas. I did talk to the building commissioner, and if we were to go with a new bus barn, we do have to have engineered prints, which is lots of money. So we're trying to preserve what we have for as long as we have, even if that means we may have to take the roof off and preserve what we have. The structure, as Mr. Johnson knows, the structure of the garage isn't that bad. It's structurally, it may not be the prettiest out there, but it's structurally, so I think that we're talking about maybe doing some cleanup, doing what we can and get some prices for the heating and, you know, see what we need for the electrical. Trent was asking a lot of good questions about, you know, what exactly do we need to run down there and those kinds of things. So that's kind of what we did last week.
Well, I think there's a lot of materials down there that no one's known what to do with. I think it'd be nice for someone in administration to evaluate and authorize the superintendent to dispose of
I agree.
what he needs to down there, because there's
There's a lot of
some real
things.
artifacts. Well, I would like to thank Beth and Dan and previously Mr. Caswell, because when I came on the board, budget didn't look that great. And between all of your efforts, it's turned around and it's not where it needs to be, but it's headed in the right direction. It's very positive. It was nice to see that Beth had answers to every question we had, and her footnotes are very thorough. I was very pleased with what she brought to the table.
I agree with that. When I first came on, I thought, how in the world are we gonna do add teachers that are desperately needed? And we were able to move things around and make it, and I'm not saying it's where we need to be, but I was impressed that we were able to get to what we are so far.
And policy and curriculum committee did not meet this month. Do we have any board comment?
I do. I have a couple statements, questions, whatever you wanna say. I've asked a couple times, and I don't know if it's hard to get one of them to come in, the student speaker.
I did not bring a student speaker in today for obvious reasons. I didn't
Yeah,
think it was
that's okay.
appropriate.
I just,
But I can absolutely bring
I
it.
just like to hear their input sometimes.
100%.
And I'm speaking, and please, nobody take offense to this, especially you. I'm just reiterating what I've heard from other students, so it's not my opinion. The amount of food that we're giving at lunchtime, I've heard still, when I've asked around to certain students, that they would like a little bit more, so we could work on that. I would like to also say thank you for the reminder, graduation and all the things going on with the seniors. There was some talk just recently about, Mr. Johnson brought up about Mr. Keck, working on our buses. I thought in the past, historically, I thought he did a good job. I think that if, in my opinion, if he is still interested in the position, I think that we should offer it to him. I think he's done a good job, and I don't know if that looks like a 1099 position, how we did that in the past, I don't know. But I think that it overall saves the school money, and I don't know how that transition came about, that he was no longer. But when I heard that we had to hire outside services, I was a little disappointed in that, just because it costs us so much more. And if he's willing and able and is still interested, then I would like to entertain that idea. The other thing I would like to bring up was, in our workshop earlier, we were talking with the ISD with Hillsdale County. I know that we've all had a few questions about, co-oping possibly next year, and, what that would look like and what it would cost us as a district to see if we could offer. And I don't know if it's something that, we're willing to do, if we could afford, or what that would even look like. But I just think that for the students' sake, that if there's something out there that we could offer, maybe we could entertain that idea and maybe get some answers. That's what, thank you.
Any other board comment? Okay, public comment.
Do you need me to state my name?
Yes, we do.
Taylor Rhodes. I just wanted to come and tell the Booster Club thank you for my thank you note. I look forward to the cash raffle every single year. We do very well. This year it was a phenomenal turnout. And I just wanted to tell you guys thank you, because it meant the world to me that you guys appreciated me and my time volunteering and being there. And if you guys as a community don't know what it is, I urge you guys to be there, because this is for our athletes. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can state your name.
Sarah. 'Cause I don't know. Sarah. 'Cause I don't know. 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 '
I then reached out to Mr. Shattuck for a meeting with him and Mr. Linebacker. I brought my little guy in. We held him accountable for his mistake. We made him apologize, and he was punished. Since January, my family has endured 4 mistakes from the school. Our first mistake was our Facebook post about homecoming court. My son's name was spelled wrong. It took a week to fix it. Not a big deal. Homecoming night, his last name was spelled wrong on the pamphlet. I don't know about any of you parents that have seniors. That book was to go on his table at his graduation party. Why would I put a book with his name spelled wrong? To this day, I have not received a fixed copy of that pamphlet. Third mistake, Facebook on roll. My son was not on it. It was fixed that day. When I looked again, there was at least 10 students missing off of the original post. That is ridiculous. April 4th, I was notified at 12:04 that one of my daughters won an award for March's Reading Month. The assembly was held April 5th. I had less than 24-hour notice to let work know I was gonna take that Friday off. I then called into work because I do not miss my kids' things. I don't. April 5th, 5:57 p.m., I got a phone call from her teacher stating she did not win that award. Someone else did. And that there were other students that were left out of that award as well. April 11th, Facebook post of pictures of the grades that won these awards. 6 grades participated in this. Only 3 grades were posted. All I'm asking for is accountability. Take accountability for your mistakes.
Thank you.
John Tyson. John Tyson.
We came to the board meeting a few months ago, and my son, the 16-year-old John, had requested to attend Jackson Career Center for automotive technology, because Hillsdale doesn't offer it. And we were told by the board and Mr. Shattuck that he would check into it and get back to us. He did get back to us and said that it was not a feasible option. And he would continue to check into it and get additional information to find out if there was any other option. The school cost to attend Jackson Career Center is $4,000. We offered to pay half of that. We offered to pay $2,000 if the board or if the school would pay $2,000. There was concern about multiple students going and the cost being high if multiple students wanted to attend. If the parents were paying 50% of that, I think your cost would be considerably less. But I also called Hillsdale County ISD and spoke to Troy. He's a wealth of information, both for the IEP portion of what my son attends, but also the information that he gave us about the Career Center in Jackson and Hillsdale. He said that the school does receive over $9,000 per student. He also said that students in the IEP program receive 28% towards the resource rooms, in addition to what they receive per student. I can send my child to Jonesville, and he can go attend automotive technology in Branch County. That costs $1,700 to go to Branch County. But I don't want, we live by Somerset. I don't want my 16-year-old on the road driving to Coldwater every single day, and they don't offer busing. So he wants to attend North Adams, and we want him to go where he wants to go. But we also want him to have the same opportunities as other kids do. So we asked the board if they would check into this and see if there were other options. Mr. Real at Hillsdale County ISD said that there are cases where school districts have negotiated, if they send multiple students to Jackson County, that sometimes they'll reduce cost. I'm just curious as to what research or information has been obtained. It's been a while since we've been here, if anybody's checked into it.
I say we mentioned before, Toriel from the ISD was here earlier this evening where the co-op discussion kind of came up. Beyond that, I can't give you any concrete answers, I'm very sorry.
He offered to come here with me and speak. I'm not understanding, I guess, fiscally, how if a child is $9,000 per head count, plus 28% for having an IEP, it costs $2,000 for you to send him to Jackson Area Career Center. He's only going to go to school half a day here, so 3 hours, because it's gonna be at the Career Center the other half. How it's a lose situation for North Adams. You still gain $7,000 plus the 28% for him being enrolled here. How is that a lose?
Again, it's a concern of more students.
Right.
So we have to document it again, we'll look into it again.
Thank you.